I've learned a lot from this world. One thing I learned is that I've finally fallen in love with myself, the idea of who I am. Struggled with that for a long time. Didn't think I could ever love myself. Didn't think I was worth it. See, my life wasn't that difficult, but it definitely had tribulations for myself that I considered difficult. Everybody has their own problems that they deal with. You see, I turn my head and I look out and see a crying world. A world that needs to change. A world that means more to me than I could ever imagine. And it's funny because I'm a man who just isolates himself. Because it's sad. Because I don't know what else I can do. Heard stories of how people do the greatest thing in this world, and I hear about how they suffer as well, and I just hear the world suffering. It's such a sad thing. If I could do something to change it, I would. If I could do something to fight for this world, I would. Unfortunately, I'm only that of a coward, only able to speak through here. If I could say one thing to the world, I'd say learn to love yourself more. Appreciate yourself. Don't be too hard. Life has its lessons and it has its meanings to help you. Learn to appreciate one another. But it's the same old song and dance that every other person sings as they go about this world. But what are you going to do about it? See, while I may be a coward who might not be going out in the world and starting some kind of change within the system of this world, I could start by doing something simple. By being a voice. A voice for someone to actually take that step. To actually do something more. So that this world can know peace. So we could all learn to just exist. Granted, it's an ideal utopia that I live in. But this world doesn't need a utopia. It just needs to learn to coexist. Sometimes you might not accept the things that other people might say. Sometimes you might not like answers you hear from others. That's okay. But it doesn't mean you should hate them for it. Yes, I understand that some people have harder times with other things because it hits closer to home. To that I say, just if it's too hard to hear, then leave them be and walk away. But don't hate them. Why have hate in your heart if it doesn't do anything for you? Why have any hate? The heart is meant to be beating. It's not meant to stop. I walk to the beach, and when I look out into the waves, all I hear are the cries of the world. They're screaming, yelling, fighting. But amongst all of that, there's peace and quiet, and there's tranquility. Enjoying every little chance they get with the person they love, with the family they adore. And there are those who just enjoy the silence within themselves. But they be rare and few. I've learned to love myself because I knew that if I didn't, I couldn't be anything more. I've had to kill myself, and I had to die so many times over, just so I can stand up to where I am right now. It's not to say that I was a good man in any of that. I've struggled, lost people, I've hurt people, hurt myself. But I've changed. You see, One of the recordings I talked about a special someone in my heart. She won't hear my words, of course not. I made it very clear that she should never talk to me again. Why? Because she had to move on. She had to grow. She said she tried to change for me, tried to do what I told her so that she could prove that she can be with me. I wasn't trying to change her for me. I was trying to change her for herself so she can love herself more. I apologize for putting that out there, if you hear this. You may think of me as nothing but a person trying to paint himself as a martyr. But it's an example a world needs. Of course, I'm never going to go into detail of many of those things, so you can rest easy. But I leave an open example for that. As I said about myself, I struggled. And to make it fair, with her, right? During the time that we were apart, before we started talking again. Yes, I loved her. I wanted her to be happy. But I also realized I was falling out of love. Because she held on so tight. It's not that I was fearing that clinginess. I enjoyed it. God, I remember how it'd be in the car rides home where she'd hold on to my arms as tight as possible. Such a beautiful smile. But one thing to say. I could only love her at a distance. Because if I had her close to me, I'd be worrying too much. See, my family didn't accept her. She wanted to be accepted. I wanted her to be accepted. I'm sure people have their Romeo and Juliet stories or whatever, but sometimes to let another person grow and be an even better version of themselves, you have to let go. If I continue to hold her own close because if I continue to hold on to her close, she wouldn't be more as a person. See, I've contented myself with being the person she'll end up hating, or just think, I'm glad I don't love him anymore, or something along those lines. But regardless, I let go because I had to. Because I knew that even though I wanted her in my life, even though I enjoyed her presence and all that, it wasn't meant to be. Those are words that are hard for me to say, to let come out my mouth. But, they have to be said. Through all of that, though, I thought to myself, what would it be like if I tried to go out with someone else? No, I couldn't think of that. No, it felt wrong. And indeed it was wrong. Because every single second, every single moment of each day, she came to my mind. And even now, occasionally, she'll pop in and out. I appreciate her and I respect her. but I couldn't be the one for her. In all of that, it led me, when I finally got her to force herself to let me go, I finally also realized I could love myself. It was a pill that I didn't think I could swallow. It seems absurd, considering that I had to let go of someone I loved. And yet, because I let go of them, I learned to love myself. It's so weird. Maybe she might find it as some kind of excuse to me for letting her go. But I say nay. Life happens as it does. We learn things in certain points of time. And because of that learning, we become better. We become someone more. Someone capable of doing what couldn't have been done. Someone able to learn a life that should have been lived. Sometimes we stop ourselves in our tracks and we forget who we are. Sometimes we need the moment of sorrow and pain to well up inside our hearts. Sometimes we need those moments so we can grow and be more. And as I said, to learn to love yourself doesn't mean to be narcissistic or anything as such. No, it means to be at peace within yourself, within everything that has happened, to appreciate and to not let go. These are words I say, and though there are more to say, I leave it at that. So I wish you all a good night, and to learn to fly high.